The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising.
The Warsaw Ghetto. There were a variety of Jewish social classes in the ghetto. This ghetto was the largest in Europe, at its largest housing more than 400,000 Jewish people. Between July and September 1942, hundreds of thousands of Jews were being shipped to the Treblinka death camp.
The reaction. The remaining 50,000 Jewish people were young and left to fend for themselves, as their families had been murdered. The Jewish Fighting Organization took over the ghetto and told the people that it was their responsibility to fight to protect each other and their religion. They warned them to resist the railway cars, as that would lead to death. Their slogan was, "All are ready to die as human beings."
The rise of resistance. After the Jews heard word that the Germans intended to kill all remaining people in the ghetto, some individuals stepped up to lead a resistance. Mordecai Anilowitz led the start of resistance for the revolution of Jewish people at the age of 24. All resistors were willing to die in order to defend the honor of their people.
The Jewish people began to organize themselves into an armed resistance. They started to build bunkers. As I pointed out, the buildings were practically vacant. So most of the people moved to the ground floor. And the resistance fighters started to build bunkers in the basements. My father was a member of the underground, and we had a bunker too. The floor in our powder room, the whole floor lifted, commode and all, and then you'd step down a flimsy little ladder, and you were out of sight. Well, the resistance fighters build a network of bunkers, and they dug tunnels so that they can move from bunker to bunker, and tunnels underneath the wall to get to the other side, to the Christian side, and hopefully obtain ammunition and arms from the Christian underground. The real fighting began when the armored cars, tanks, brigades of soldiers, bomber planes, trucks with loudspeakers announcing, "You better all report or else we'll kill you." And of course, we did not obey. We bolted into our bunker, and you can imagine when we pulled the trap door closed and we stepped into this damp darkness, the ceiling closed in on us, the walls pressed me in. The few people who were with me in the bunker were my whole nation. The flickering of the carbide light was the substitute for the sun. The ticking of the clock was our only connection with the universe outside. That's how we knew when morning was rising, when the sun was setting. How abandoned I felt, how I craved for the open horizons, for the crispness, blue crispness of day. And while we were in this bunker, the freedom fighters confronted a 20th century army, just a small group of poorly clad, poorly fed, poorly armed of freedom fighters, climbing up on rooftops, meeting the tanks on street corners, standing in front of open windows and lobbing Molotov cocktails and whatever explosives they could find. And they fought so bravely. They fought for 4 weeks, even after the ghetto was declared cleansed of Jews. And the Jewish fighters were still fighting. It is really noteworthy that the Jewish resistance fighters in the Warsaw Ghetto fought longer than it took for France or for Poland to capitulate. I think that is remarkable. Well, boom, there was this horrendous explosion. I thought that my head was blown off. Dust was flying, splinters were flying around me. In one instant, our hiding place was invaded by a bunch of barbarians, and they chased us out of the bunker. At that point, there was not even a corner that we could hide in. We didn't even have the freedom to fall to our knees and form fists and smash the earth. We were marched through the streets. The ground beneath us trembled. The air thundered with detonations. The buildings crumbled to our feet. The flames were enormous tongues of flames licked the sky and painted it in otherworldly colors of iridescence. The smoke, towers of smoke, our people lying in congealed blood. I tried to turn my face away, not to see it. I couldn't understand what death meant. All I hoped for is that I meet it with my mother and sister and my father. But I couldn't turn my face away from the people who I cannot forget. And they marched us onto Umschlagplatz, onto freight trains, crowded like sardines.
You have been listening to First Person, Conversations with Holocaust Survivors, a podcast series of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. from March through August.